Good afternoon. Good, is it morning, afternoon? Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the show. I'm Mary Grace. We're live. This is Real Talk with Mary Grace, and it is Wednesday, the 6th of October, 2021. Welcome to the show. Got a lot to talk about today. I've been off air for over a week, and I know that some of you have been asking, where are you? Where are you? Wait until you hear the adventures that have taken place over the last 10 days. We've got lots to share with you. I want to make sure everybody can see me on the screen and just make sure I'm coming through clearly. So let me know because I'm seeing something else on the screen. All right. Hello, Diane. Let's wait for a few more people to come in. So as usual, as you're coming in, if you're on Fascist Book, please like the show. Please follow the channel. Please tag people in the comments and share this into groups. If you're on YouTube, like the show, subscribe to the channel, and share this in text messages, emails. Just get the word out. I am pretty encouraged by the fact that people are sharing the show and that we're actually making an impact with the things that we're doing on the ground, boots on the ground, making a difference and changing lives. And I want to share with that. I want to share that with you today and to encourage you, because it's easy to get discouraged in this fight. It is a fight. It is a war. And I want to encourage you. So that's the focus of my show today. And I want to give glory to God for what we're seeing happen in real time. So as you're coming in, hit the thumbs up, like the show, like the page. I'm also on Clout Hub. I don't know if I'm streaming on Twitter at the moment. I think there's some technical issues. I thought we changed it over from the old Periscope to Twitter, but it looks like it may not be working. So in any case, we'll get that fixed. Let me write that down. Okay. All right. So first and foremost, I wanted to tell you that does anybody here follow Brad Barton? He has a show. It's called The Little Talk Show, and he's mostly, I think, on Facebook. So I don't catch many of his episodes because I'm not over there very much. But he does upload his things to the Telegram channel sometimes, and so I wanted to tell you guys he had a show last night, and there was a segment on there where he had a man who was talking about his brother. The man's name is Patrick. His brother's name is Marlon. And it's another case of whatever you call it, medical imprisonment, medical kidnapping. The hospital was killing his brother. And so Patrick got his brother out of the hospital, got him home, got oxygen to him. And so they're in a situation now where they are trying to save his brother, and they're trying to get the resources. It's a little bit touch and go. There's incredible warfare around this, spiritual warfare, and I wanted to put the word out to all of you, to my listeners, to the spiritual warriors out there, to the prayer warriors, the intercessors. Please just command authority over this situation and pray for Marlon. Pray for him and tear down these strongholds of sickness and the declarations of death over him, the pronouncements of death. All of this, I need for all of you who have faith in Jesus Christ to rise up and to take authority over this situation. Okay, so we're in a whole different level of warfare now. I think you may have noticed that if you haven't figured it out by now, the enemy is playing for keeps. They're pulling out all the stops. There is a spirit of murder over these hospitals, over the hospital systems, over the administrators of these hospitals. We know who's controlling it. We know that Big Pharma has their hand in all of these decisions that are being made at the administrative level. When a doctor tells you that they will not treat your loved one with your desired protocol because it's not the hospital protocol, even though their protocol is killing your loved one, you know that you have a big problem, and that's what we're seeing. And so this is a big deal. It's bigger than I think people realize. Uh, the good news is the good news is that we are making a difference. We, the body of Christ, are making a difference. And I want to share with you some of the things that have happened over the last 2 weeks. And I think you're going to be really encouraged. How many of you remember when I started talking about a case in Arizona? I was talking about a man who was in the hospital and he had been on a ventilator for over 20 days. His name is Matt Severson. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. He is in a hospital in Phoenix. You remember me talking about that? I was live on air. I was trying to get the Attorney General's office to help us with that. Who remembers that? I just want to make sure we're up all on the same page with that situation. Okay. If you're new and you don't remember it, I'm going to ask some of the people in the chat to fill you in on some of this so that I don't have to start the whole story over again. I'm going to give you the basics, which is that the family came under attack physically. The family came under attack physically with COVID, and his wife Shannon had been very sick during the time that he was in the hospital. And so she really didn't have the gumption, the strength to pursue perhaps the way that she could have had she been fully healthy. And because of that, the doctor was doing the hospital was basically just keeping him ventilated and waiting for him to die. I'm just going to be honest with you. And when we got involved, you guys, our other resources, people on the ground in Arizona, when we started to get involved and come alongside Shannon, because of her sister Lori, who they're both listeners here. Lori reached out to me when we started that process, following the advice of people like Dr. Ardis and other people who have successfully navigated these hospital systems. When we started that process, things started to shift in the hospital and in the mindset of the doctors. The other thing that we started doing was we started engaging in very high level prayer and intercession over that hospital, over the hospital room, over Matt's life, over his family. And these things are key. So intercession, prayer, spiritual warfare, activity, boots on the ground, activism. So those things combined. I hear a lot of people saying, I see this every day on Telegram in the chats. I hear people saying, but nothing is happening. You're sitting back, you're watching, you're feeling helpless, and you're saying nothing is happening. And I've got news for you. It is happening. And it's happening because people like you and me are taking action. And I titled my broadcast today, He Trains My Hands for Battle. And that is a scripture from the Psalms. He trains my hands for battle, my arms so that my arms can bend a bow of bronze. I believe it's Psalm 18 and also Psalm 118. And so the thing is, the psalmist understands that the Lord trains your hands for battle. But you, me, the warriors in this fight, have to pick up the bow and draw the bow. That is what is happening right now in this fight. And so if your bow is lying on the ground and you're standing there saying, He trains my hands for battle, that they can bend a bow of bronze, and yet the bow is on the ground, you have no excuse to say nothing is happening because you haven't even picked up the bow. Is everybody following me here? This is important because the people who've been saying nothing is happening, the people who are expecting something to happen, are being exhorted right now. I'm exhorting you to understand that the bow that's lying on the ground is yours. You're the one who's called to pick it up. And when your trust is in the Lord, He is the one who gives you the strength to bend it. Now, if you understand what bronze is, we're not talking about a piece of bamboo that is flexible. We're talking about a very heavy piece of metal that is a composite of some of the strongest metals. It's very, very strong. That's why they make statues out of it and put them in a town square, and they last hundreds of years. It's a very strong metal alloy. And so, you're the one who's picking up the bow, but the Lord is the one who's training you and giving you the strength to bend that bow and to hit the mark. Okay. And so I want to give you some encouragement. I want to tell you what's been happening because of what we have done, because of what some of you have done, because of the way that you stepped in, and because of the way that we have rallied and activated in this situation with Matt in Arizona in the hospital. It's amazing. God is showing Himself to be our champion, and it's very exciting. So let's back up to when we first started this. If you recall, I was telling you that he was COVID positive. He was in the hospital. His wife was being denied access, and they were giving her not so great of a prognosis. He has comorbidities. He has complications. He has type 1 diabetes. He's overweight. So those are things that come into play here. Nevertheless, this is a man who has a wife and 3 children. And we know, I believe firmly, strongly, that it's not his time, and that he has a life and a destiny on his life, and that he is meant to be here for his children, for his grandchildren, even for their children. And so in this process, we began ministering to Shannon. Sorry, I'm reading the chat here and getting distracted. We began ministering to Shannon and just imparting very practical steps to her, and also courage. And that gave her the ability to start taking steps to help her husband, to get the hospital's attention. And in the process, so that was on a that process was started. I'm reading a comment that Delia wrote. Okay, he was not in the hospital on a ventilator due to COVID. Initially, he did not go in for that, but I want to make it clear that they tested him for COVID, and they used, I believe they were using that as an excuse to keep him on the vent, because that's what they've been doing. Okay, and so that's what they've been doing, and that's what they use. That's the excuse they use to keep her away. Okay. Now, I also found out that nobody was allowed in the hospital. This hospital wasn't allowing any visitors. So let me get back on track here. We started the process. Shannon began escalating the situation, going up the chain of command, and really making demands on the doctor, on the team. She went to the patient advocate. She let them know that she was serious about her needs and her husband's needs. And this is important for everybody to understand, because what we've seen a lot is that people have sort of been observing the criminal behavior, the travesty of what has been happening to their loved ones. They have felt helpless. They haven't known what to do. They've just sat there and witnessed the full-scale medical kidnapping and eventual killing of their family members. And so what we have been able to do in this case, and I've recently found out that there are people in multiple states who are doing this, we were able to equip and empower Shannon to take charge and to take practical steps to get the attention of the hospital in a way that had an impact. And so, in other words, she wasn't just yelling at them and showing up and making a scene, although sometimes you might have to do that. But she took very clear, specific action steps and said, "This is what we're doing. This is what I expect, and this will be the result if you don't comply." And so that turned things around because she then said, "I want him to be stepped down off of the ventilator. I want to see an aggressive plan to remove the sedation and to step him down and get him off of the vent." And this wasn't the plan. I need you to understand this. The plan of the hospitals, once they get somebody on the vent, is to continue that. How do I know that? Well, I've talked to people who've been in these systems, who know the hospital systems better than I do. There is government money from the CARES Act, and I believe other extensions of that, that is giving them the money to keep patients on a ventilator. If they're COVID positive, that's even more money. I just found out yesterday that the doctors also get bonuses. And thankfully, in the case of Matt, he did not get put on remdesivir because that is what destroys the organs. Okay. But let me go back to what I know about the hospitals. I started to really get a clue about this when I asked Shannon if the hospital had begun talking to her about the discharge process. How many of you have ever had a loved one in the hospital critically ill, in ICU, having surgery, heart surgery, things like that? My mom had open heart surgery. She had major hip surgery, things like that. And if you've ever been in that situation, if you've ever been in that situation, you know that before you can even bat an eye, the hospital, I think the social worker is the one who comes and says, "Hey, let's talk about your loved one's discharge process." And you're sitting here looking at your loved one, like with their chest split open on a ventilator on life support, and you're thinking, they're not ready to discharge. They won't survive if you discharge them. Has anybody ever been in that situation? And then the person tells you, oh, but the insurance company, is limiting care. Like they're saying we have to step them down to a rehab facility. Okay. Yeah. So Diane is saying in the past, till recently, hospitals have started discharge planning on day one. Now, one thing that I know about hospitals, I've spent a lot of time there as an advocate for family. They don't want patients in the hospital for their own safety, because the longer they stay in the hospital, the more likely they are to catch other things like C. diff, which is a horrible bacterial infection that can kill you. It's highly contagious. And so for the safety of the patient, they want to get them better as quickly as possible and get them out, usually home or into a step-down facility, so that it costs less for the insurance company and it's a more safe environment for the patient. Now, in this case, right, there was no talk about that. And in fact, there was no talk about getting him off the ventilator. It was just, every day, same thing. Oh, his ventilator's at 100. We tried to take him off the sedation. He got agitated. We put him back on, et cetera, et cetera. And because the family member was not in the hospital, because there's no one there who has a direct vested interest in advocating for that patient, they're pretty much doing whatever they want. And what that equates to is dollar signs, ka-ching, 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 every day that they're in that ICU on that vent, COVID positive, ching, 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 ching. It's like a slot machine. I hate that I'm even telling you this. I hate that this is even true. But the fact that nobody came to Shannon and said, "Hey, we want to work on the discharge process. We want to get him better as quickly as possible," that's a big red flag. And if you have a loved one who's in a situation like that, and they're not telling you that they want to start the discharge process, then that's a big red flag, because the insurance companies don't want to spend a dime beyond what they are allowed. I mean, look at giving birth, right? In the old days, you would go to the hospital, you'd have a baby, and you'd actually get to rest a few days, and somebody would take care of your baby. And I remember, like, a friend of mine, she had 3 kids, and she was talking about this. She's like, I actually wanted to stay in the hospital for 3 days because I was tired when I had my third baby. And nowadays it's like you have the baby, you sometimes like go home like the next morning. And I'm not saying that you should stay in the hospital after you have a baby. I'm just saying that's how much it's changed. I actually believe in home birth. I mean, that's a whole other topic, but you get what I'm saying, that it's a whole different story now. Okay, so let's go back to the situation with Matt. So we know that they had no incentive to get him better, to get him out. It was just sort of day to day. Here's his situation. Oh yeah, he relapsed again. He's back to 100% vent. It was just boom, 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 up and down, up and down. Meanwhile, Shannon is on oxygen. She's trying to navigate this situation the best she can while raising her family and dealing with all of those kinds of things that are going on, and really not knowing day to day if Matt was going to survive. Okay, so that was 2 weeks ago. And so a week ago, yesterday, we got a call from Shannon. She said, hey, Matt is in trouble. They need to do a procedure with his gallbladder. There's something going on. They think that they're not sure he's going to survive it because of the delicate situation he's in. And he has to be on his back for the procedure. They can't even keep him on his back because of the oxygen levels, et cetera. And so they said that she would have an hour to see him, just her. So think about this, guys. If you have a loved one in prison and they're about to get, executed, I think the family gets like maybe a little visitation with them. How is this different? How is it different that up until that time, Shannon couldn't come and see her husband because COVID? And then when they thought that it was a dire enough situation that he might not survive, oh, you can come and see him. I'm just telling you what I've observed. Okay? You draw your own conclusions. So that's what we witnessed. Now, when we first heard this, I was just so grieved in my spirit. And then the Lord said to me, he said, take communion. And so I was getting ready to go out. I had stuff I was going to do. It was the day before my trip, actually. I was trying to pack. And so I felt very strongly I really needed to be obedient. And not only that, but that I needed to call together our group, including Shannon and her sister Lori. And I asked them who they wanted to invite to take communion together and to worship. And so I did a Zoom. A couple of you came on that. Millie, Michelle, Delia was there. And so we took communion and we worshiped and we did warfare. And we broke a lot of stuff over that hospital, the spirit of death over his room. And I'm telling you this because you have authority in Jesus to do this as a believer. You don't have to have a special Zoom. You don't have to have a special session to take this authority. There is power in the group that comes together, okay, where one or more are gathered in my name. There I am in the midst of them. That's what Jesus said. And so we did that. And it was very powerful. And the coolest thing happened, 2 things happened right after that Zoom. We were on for, I don't know, over an hour. And just had some really beautiful breakthroughs in the spirit. As soon as that was over, I went out to do some errands. And we had a massive, massive thunderstorm with hail. We had a hailstorm. and the sky it was just pouring for quite a long time. In the summertime, we have storms that sort of come and go in little pockets. This storm it stretched about 10 miles. Um, and I had a friend who was further south. She sent me a picture of the sky, and just the angelic presence in the sky was amazing. And then the next day, there was thunderstorms in Phoenix. Very unusual for that time of year. Very unusual for that time of year here. And so that happened. And the other thing that happened is, Shannon didn't know at the time when they would be ready for her to come in and see Matt. As soon as we finished the Zoom, she got a call to say, come in. And so she was ready to go to the hospital. And she had some things with her that strategically we had planned ahead of time. I'm not going to go into detail about that, but these were things that we had discussed that she would be able to bring into the room. One of which was a prayer cloth that we had actually, the nurse had already brought a prayer cloth, pictures of the family. There were some other things though. You can just use your discernment to think about that. But so she was prepared to go into the room. At that point, she thought that he was going to have a procedure. And so she went in, and this is the coolest thing, because in the ICU, there's a big picture window. There's always a staff member, a nurse, watching each patient from a desk outside. And they had told her she would have 1 hour and 1 hour only. Well, the nurse that brought her in, when they walked into the room, the nurse looked over and noticed that that desk was empty, and even commented and said, "That's really strange. There's always somebody there." And so I don't, Millie, how much detail should I give here? I guess I can just, yeah. So she went in. She had to be in PPE, right? But she was able to put her cheek against his forehead. And she was able to put her cheek against his forehead. And she was there for 2 hours. 2 hours, just draped over his body. And when we were praying on the Zoom, there was a vision that somebody had very similar to what happened when she was in the room. It was like a draping over his body. And if you know the story of Elijah, when he went to the widow's house and the son was dead, and Elijah draped his whole body over the child, and he breathed into his mouth and breathed life into him. And it was very similar to what happened. And so she stayed there, just supernaturally. Nobody bothered her. She was able to administer not only the love of God, the presence, the life of God. She was able to administer. She was able to minister ivermectin to him. She had it crushed up. Medication absorbs through mucous membranes. And so even if a person can't swallow, even if they're even if they have a tube in their throat, you can still get it there. Okay. And that's what she did. She had been asking for 3 weeks, please give him this. Nope, not in our protocol. The Lord was directing us all along. We were coming together as a team, and I would have dreams about what he needed. I'd wake up and I'd call Shannon and say, "Hey, do this," right? When you get to the hospital, right when you get in, go in the bathroom, grind it up, make sure it's fresh, right? So that's what she did. And so it was amazing. The other thing that happened is we were in a situation where I had reached out to a couple of people that I know and trust who have really good connections, and it was and I thought that they were going to connect me with some key people in the movement who would help us help Matt. And it was I don't know what happened. The communication broke down. I wasn't hearing back from the people that I thought could help us. And I remember, I was just talking to the Lord. I said, Lord, we need help. I need for this person to respond and to get us this connection. And it was just, it was like it was like a communication blackout. And it wasn't intentional, right? And, um, and so, um, so the Lord said to me, He goes, you could get their help, but you could also rely on me. I'm teaching you something here. I'm teaching Shannon something here. I want to show her my glory. We don't always need to call the cavalry because I am the cavalry. And, you have authority over this situation. You have authority over the heavenly host to go and tell them to minister to Matt. And that's what I'm sorry, I keep Lori Shannon. That's what Shannon and her sister and her children were witnessing and learning during this process. And I have a friend in Arizona that I had called. She's a very powerful intercessor. She's one of our listeners. And she told me today, I had asked her to help. And she said, I kept thinking that I was going to be going to the hospital or going to see Shannon or, doing something boots on the ground. But the Lord told me, He just said, no, I want to teach them. I want to teach Shannon. I want to teach Matt something in this situation. Your job right now is to pray. And so that really corroborated with what the Lord told me, that that He could use these people that I know who carry a lot of weight in the medical community to fix this. But that wasn't His bigger plan, His bigger picture here. And I want to be clear about this part of the story, though, because I want to be clear that, the Lord doesn't make people suffer. He's not going to break your leg to get your attention. Some people might interpret what I just said as that. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the fact that the devil tried to kill Matt, and the Lord wanted to use that situation to teach Shannon and this community about exercising heavenly authority, spiritual authority, using the weapons of our warfare and going after the devil in the spirit realm and seeing his glory poured out. That's what the Lord was showing us. That's what He's doing right now. Okay, so the 2 hours was up. Shannon had to go. She spoke to Matt. She told him, "You will live and not die." She broke off all of the words of death that had been spoken over him, because that's what they do in the hospital. There's a spirit of murder over these hospitals right now, and so we have to take authority over that. And so she did that, and she left. She stayed in touch with the hospital. So remember I told you that Matt needed a gallbladder procedure? Well, his numbers improved. His blood work improved. Not only that, but his oxygen levels improved when she was in the room. They were able to turn the vent down. Imagine that, having your loved one beside you, bringing the presence of God and the life of God into the room. Yesterday, we found out that his gallbladder is completely healed. Doesn't need a procedure. It's fine. And when we were praying and we were doing the communion, God showed me, and I made a declaration that, number one, they wouldn't have to do the procedure on his gallbladder, and that the doctors would then find out that nothing was wrong. And that's the testimony that we got yesterday. Okay. Now it gets even better, because that was a Tuesday. And I think I told you that he had tested positive for COVID in a bronchoscopy in his lungs, and then also in a nasal swab. And this is, this was like 23 days in, 25 days in. I can't remember the timeline. But last Friday, the 1st of October, they tested him again, and he tested negative. Praise God. Up until that point, not only had Shannon not had access to her husband on a regular basis, but the entire hospital had been closed to visitors. People were sitting in the parking lot. It was like a third world country. They do that, like in Africa, like the families come and like live at the hospital, because when you're in the hospital doesn't feed you or anything. I don't know if you know that, but it was like that. So families camped out in the parking lot of the hospital. Friday comes, Shannon gets word from the hospital. He's COVID negative. You can come. And not only that, but we're back to regular visiting hours, 11 to 8, and one visitor at a time. Not just one visitor, period, for the whole time they're in the hospital, but one at a time. You can trade back and forth. So our prayers, our warfare, what we've been doing, opened up the whole hospital for families to see their loved ones. Isn't this the greatest story? And so ever since Friday, Shannon has been with her husband. As of yesterday, he was down to 40% on the vent. So that means his breathing is being assisted at a 40% level, as opposed to 100%. Okay, it gets better. So then Monday was their daughter Emily's birthday. And remember, I told you that there was only one person allowed at a time. Emily's young. She's in college. She's young. She wasn't that keen to be in the hospital by herself with her dad. And so Shannon said, I want to be there with my daughter. And so the hospital granted that. And so that was, what's today? Was it yesterday or Monday, Shannon? I'm losing track. I think it was Monday. And so I knew that this was all going to happen. And Monday, I felt the Lord telling me, Emily's presence is going to be an infusion of hope for Matt. And there were a couple other things he told me. And so I sent them a voice message and told them that, and I sang happy birthday to Emily. And just, there were some other things that the Lord told me, that Matt has a hope and a future, and that his children and his grandchildren needed him to live. And that Emily's presence there was a reminder of that. And it was an infusion of hope. So right after I sent them that message, the nurse came in. And Matt's numbers were looking so good. The nurse looked at Emily and said, having you here is like the magic pill. Like, everything is changing. He's improving. And we know it's not magic. We know it's Holy Spirit. We know it's the presence of God. It's the living water. And that's what took place. And then as of yesterday, he's down to 40%. Gallbladder healed. Doesn't need it. Okay. And so we're celebrating. We're celebrating. And not only that, we are seeing what's possible. We are seeing what's possible. We know now that the level of prayer and intercession that we are bringing to this fight is what is needed. God is revealing to us this spirit of death, the murder spirit. It's not just a death. It's not just death. It's murder. That's what the Lord is telling me. It's a murder spirit. It's a murderous spirit. The same spirit that was on Herod when he wanted to murder the sons of the Israelites. Okay, same spirit that was on the Pharaoh that caused Moses' mother to put him in a basket in the Nile. Okay, it's not just death; it's murder. So let's be clear about that. And so what we see happening right now is that we are being our awareness level is raising up. And I don't know about you, but I'm encouraged. And so if you're still sitting here and you're thinking nothing is happening, then you're missing what's happening right in front of your eyes. Because think about this. This isn't new. Just let me be clear about this. The attitude, the mindset, the murderous spirit that is over these hospitals isn't new. It is being brought out. It's manifesting in spades right now because the devil knows that his days are numbered. Are you seeing that? Are you tracking with me on this? And so I want people to be very clear on that. I'm going to read you a comment on YouTube right now. Greg says, uh, as an ICU trauma nurse for many years, I can tell you that the spirit of death has been there all along. It's just more noticeable. It's part of Adonai's plans to reveal all of the darkness, in my opinion. There you go. So people are seeing it undeniably. Now, I want to tell you something else that happened yesterday. This is just beautiful. But this is amazing. Okay. The chaplain came to see Lori and Matt, came to see Shannon and Matt yesterday. And the chaplain prayed for Matt. And then she told Shannon, she said, today I had 2 people call on me because they wanted to receive Jesus. One of them was a drug addict who was in the hospital. And she said, I've never had that happen in 30 years. So the spirit of revival is breaking out in that hospital, John C. Lincoln Hospital. Isn't that kind of cool that the hospital is called Lincoln, the president of emancipation? And so we are seeing freedom and revival break out in a hospital that was 2 weeks ago holding this patient hostage, and the spirit of murder was having its way in this hospital. And Matt's team has been coming in and remarking. Some of the nurses that had been with him for maybe 2 weeks ago had seen him, really thought that he was going to die, have come back on shift. They're surprised that he's still there and how well he's doing. Amazing. And so one of the things that happened when we were doing our communion service is Michelle just kept hearing from the Lord, Matt, pick up your mat. And if you remember the story of the paralytic in the Bible, there was a situation where Jesus was in a room in a house with the Pharisees, and they all had seats, right? They were all like big, important people, and so the regular people couldn't get in, and these guys had a friend who was on a mat, paralyzed, and they went to the house and they went up on the roof. If you've ever seen houses in that area, you can actually, like, there's patios and things on the roof, and there's tile roof. And so they started taking the roof apart. That's where you get the term raise the roof. And so they started taking the tiles off. And I don't
understand. I started taking them tiles.
So they, oh my gosh, Siri, don't be stupid. They started taking the tiles off. I just want to interject. So Siri clearly is listening to us. And whoever is monitoring Siri, you need Jesus. And so let's all pray that the people that are behind all of this monitoring are going to hear the gospel and they're going to give their lives to Jesus and repent for all the evil that they perpetrated in the world. There's that. Okay, let me keep going. Where was I? um, Somebody get me back on track. So the friends brought their friend down into the place where Jesus was through the roof, and Jesus saw their faith. Not even the man. The man was paralyzed. Okay, Matt is asleep. In his soul, in his spirit, he's crying out. I believe that. I believe he hears and understands what's going on around him, but he's not able to move. And so we as believers um, activated and really just lifted him up and brought him to the feet of Jesus. And so the result of this story is that the time is coming very soon where Matt is going to pick up his mat and go and tell the testimony of the healing that Jesus has done on his body, his entire body. And I believe that he is going to be healthier than before he went in, that there's not going to be any trace of trauma in his lungs, that he is not going to have any PTSD, that his soul is cleansed of all of the words of death spoken over him in that room. And that his testimony is going to resonate, and that many, many people are going to come to the Lord because of what they're seeing happen right here. And so, going back to the original, into the original scripture, uh, he trains my hands for battle, so that so that I can bend a bow of bronze. You've got to pick up the bow, and that's what we've done. It's not our power, it's not our strength. Okay, not by might, not by power, but by my spirit, says the Lord. That's what's happening here. We are seeing God move. We are seeing believers activate and stand in their authority to raise the roof, on a hospital that has, up until very recently, had a spirit of murder over it. God is moving. God is moving in hospitals. He's moving in administrations. He gets the final word. And one thing I want to say to all of you, and this is something that Shannon was able to communicate in the hospital. You know, the doctors go to school. They have a degree. They learn to fix people. That's supposedly their job. But they're mortals. They're people. All they can do is tell a patient what they see, and they can interpret it. And so a doctor can look at a patient and say, based on everything I'm seeing, you're not going to survive this. That's their opinion. But we don't look just at what our eyes see. We look at what God sees. And God is the one who numbers our days. He is the one who determines the end from the beginning. He knows the end from the beginning. And so, as a spouse, as a friend, as a patient, even, you can say to a doctor, that's your opinion. I know that that's your job to give me your opinion, but my God has the final word, and I don't receive or even tolerate a verdict of death over myself, over my husband, over my child, whatever the situation. And that is what Shannon did. She stood up and declared life over her husband, because the only one who gets to number our days is God. Okay? Whose report will you believe? We're going to believe the report of the Lord. I hope that you're encouraged. It's a difficult time. Not everybody has been saved from this murderous spirit. That is why we need to make sure all the more that we are sharing the gospel, that people hear and know that they have hope. Because we want them all to be with Jesus. We don't want anybody to take their last breath and not go into the kingdom with Jesus. Okay? That's so important. Now, I just want to look at your comments here. I'm encouraged. I'm incredibly encouraged by what's happening. And it's very interesting because, we're coming through this situation, we're seeing what's possible. And then last night, I was so tired. I got to tell you about my trip. I'll come back to that in a minute. But I was so tired. I was just looking at Brad Barton's feed on his Telegram, and I was looking at this story about what's going on in Tennessee. And I texted Brad, hey, what's going on? How can we help? And so now we're just, it's like we're in a different territory. Now we're doing battle over Tennessee. And so if anybody is in the Chattanooga area that can minister to this family, that has authority over that area in the spirit, please let me know. Please start battling and doing warfare on behalf of this man, Marlon, who is, I believe, fighting for his life. I haven't gotten an update yet, but in any case, there's a team down there of women who are intercessors and who are boots on the ground that are equipping people on how to deal with this medical tyranny. And so what we need is to have people raised up everywhere who are equipping and coaching and imparting wisdom and practical steps to people who find themselves in this situation. Because I'll give you an example. So the women that I talked to last night, it's a mother and daughter. They were working with Marlon's family, and Marlon's family was hit pretty hard. And so there was a young man, a 23-year-old, who also got COVID. I can't remember the exact relation to Marlon, but the mother was she didn't want her son, 23-year-old, to go be alone. They were going to take him, right? Put him on a vent, whatever. We know what they do now. And so these women were coaching the mom, and they said, listen, you need to picture this situation. You need to think about the person that you're talking to, and just imagine that's Satan. And you tell them what you are going to do. You tell them, I am not leaving his side. You will not take him from me. And this is a very timid woman who doesn't like confrontation. And she got the strength and the courage to tell them, you will not take him from me. I am his mother. And she won that battle. And in 3 days, her son is home. That was, I think, Friday. And so by Monday, Tuesday, he's out of the hospital. This is what I'm talking about. So we impart practical steps and courage to people who may not have a voice or who may not think they have a voice. In Shannon's case, um, she actually really didn't have a voice because she was on oxygen, because she had COVID. And so her lungs have been compromised by this as well. So we're believing for complete healing for Shannon as well. And so, but Shannon was willing to do it. And that's the other thing, only Shannon could take action as his advocate, as his power of attorney. She's the one who had to say, this is what I demand for my husband. And if you don't comply, this is what I will do. This is what will happen to you. And because of the team effort that we brought to this, we were able to feed that courage into her. And that's what we're doing right now. There are those of you who have been thinking, what can I do? How do I get through this? I'm just a mom. I'm a grandma. I'm a wife. I'm a husband. I have a job. Like I don't know what to do. I'm not a politician. I'm not a podcaster. There's plenty you can do. I hope you've seen that by this story. Um, it's we have so much more ability and so much more impact than most of you realize. Okay? Now, um, what's the next thing I want to say here? I want to read the comments for just a minute. Karen says, I'm seeing a Joan of Arc anointing on you. That's awesome. Yeah. Um, so it's interesting that you say that, Karen, because that's how I feel. Okay, so some of you know I didn't tell you that all the details, but I was in Tulsa last week. I was in Tulsa at Clay Clark's Thrive Time World Headquarters in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I was with about 150 people, including Ann Vandersteel, producer Liz, a lot of podcasters, Clay and his wife, uh, um, Beth. Okay, this is part of the story of what happened. This is so amazing. Beth on Facebook just said, I met you at the Tulsa airport last week. We traded rental cars. Thankful for your voice. So good. So good what God did. I'll come back to that part in a minute. Hey, Beth, I'm glad you made it. Okay, so it's so cool. So I went to Tulsa and I got there, and what we were doing is, Clay Clark is a man on a mission. He is really focused on fostering and creating this parallel economy that is necessary now because of the way that big tech and big pharma and everybody is trying to cancel our voices. And I think it's ironic that, and it's not ironic, it's just interesting that the devil is trying to take people's voices through the face diaper, through the COVID, through the breathing tube. You can't talk when you have that in. I mean, it's just obvious what he's trying to do. And so yeah, um, so so the voices of the new media, me and so many other people, uh, is they're powerful. General Flynn, Mike Lindell. Uh, what Clay Clark did was he brought together the voices and the resources, and so we spent 2 days in a workshop, and Clay gave people their voice. So he brought up podcasters so that they could explain, this is what I do, this is my lane, this is my flow, this is who I am. Oh, Brad Barton. I'm drawing a blank. There's so many people there. The mama bears from Iowa. April, the weather girl, remember her? She's the one who came out on Project Veritas. She was there. Cordy Williams was there. So many people. Dr. Sherwood. Um, and so he brought up people who have a voice, something to offer in media, and then he brought up people who have businesses and services so that they could explain, here's what I do. And if I'm a sponsor of if you mention my product on your show, this is the affiliate commission that you'll get, that kind of thing. Okay. And so enabling the media, the new media, to monetize without having to sell your soul to deep state, without having to lose your platform and all of your monetization when YouTube decides that you're too scary because Orange Man bad. Okay. So that's what we were doing. And I got an opportunity to talk about superfoods. So we're going to be bringing on more podcasters who are going to be promoting superfoods. That means we're going to get more people in the country healthier. Uh, and so that's what we did. Now, in the process of all of that, it was just it was so good because we're able to see that even though there are so few of us relative to the mass conglomerate media cabal, our voices are powerful, and there are people out there like Mike Lindell who are um, who are giving, who are lending their assistance, and it's a win-win situation. People like Mike Lindell who are saying, "Hey, I'm going to give you a promo code just because you were here this weekend, and you can share your promo code on the show, and you can talk about the products that you have gotten from My Pillow, and your people are going to love what you have to say, and they're going to go buy it." And so every time the enemy tries to cancel our voices, God elevates our voices. Mike Lindell's company has increased by 3 times in this past year because they tried so hard to cancel him. And it's only going to get better because now he is partnering with all of us podcasters, and we are going to be able to run his commercials on our show, even my little show that's been suppressed, but obviously has a purpose and is making a huge impact. And so hopefully within a week, you guys are going to be able to buy My Pillow stuff from yours truly's link, okay, and use my promo code. Don't do it yet because I don't have it set up. But the whole point is that that's what we were doing, networking and connecting and meeting with like-minded people. It was wonderful. And I'll tell you something about Clay Clark. Clay has an anointing for prosperity. I do too. I'm not at the level that he's at in terms of building businesses and promoting them. But what Clay has is that God has given him a vision to bring the kingdom of God on earth and to finance that. And Clay funded the entire thing. Now, he didn't pay for travel for people. Actually, I think he did pay for some people's travel. But what I'm saying is that Thrive Time, Clay Clark, and his wife Vanessa, beautiful wife Vanessa, who wears her My Pillow slippers everywhere. When you're a mother of 5 and you're married to Clay Clark and you're dealing with that kind of dragon energy all day long, you can wear your My Pillow slippers anywhere you want. Okay. So so Clay bankrolled the whole thing, the entire facility, breakfast and lunch every day, all of that. Workbooks. Oh, I don't have my workbook. Made workbooks for everybody. Had everything ready. So that is what Clay. That's where God. That's the lane that God. One of the lanes that God has him in right now. It's remarkable. And so keep him in your prayers because he's in the radar. He's in the enemy's radar. I mean, like the enemy hates him right now, and because of what he's doing, okay, because of who he's partnered with, and because of the very practical steps that he's taken to advance the message of truth around around the world, really. So that is what we did over the weekend. Now, I had an interesting situation. I want to tell you, this is kind of cool. I love how God works. I was with Ann and producer Liz. You guys know we roll together sometimes, right? And so so they have been going nonstop. They were at the Colorado Springs Summit, or Ann was. I think Liz was doing something with her family. But anyway, so they've been living out of suitcases for 2 weeks up until the time before we landed in Tulsa. Okay. So Elizabeth had told me that she needed that she had gotten a rental car, and she had reserved a rental car. So I didn't do that. I got us a hotel, and I thought we were going to get a VRBO, but VRBO wanted photo IDs of everybody staying in the house. And we were like, oh, hell no, that's not going to happen. So we rented a hotel. I got a hotel room. Didn't realize that a lot of the podcasters were going to be at that hotel, that it was a couple miles from Clay's headquarters, which was so providential. But the Monday night before, like 2 days before I was going to get there, 11 o'clock at night, Liz says, "Hey, can you pick us up at the airport Wednesday night? We can't get the car because the car rental place won't be open." And so I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do that because you're supposed to get the car. Anyway, so I went on and reserved a rental car and for one night because I thought, okay, we'll get the car. And then this story is going somewhere. It has a good ending. Just bear with me. So I get the rental car for one night. I reserve it. And then Holy Spirit says, you better get that car for the whole time through Sunday. So, so I went back, made another reservation, right? I get to Tulsa. I go to pick up my car. And I don't know if you guys realize that there's a shortage of rental cars, especially SUVs. I'm not sure why, but anyway, I guess more people are driving because they don't want to fly. Anyway, so I get to the airport. I'm walking out of the airport trying to find the budget rental counter. And there's a lady walking behind me, and she's also looking for budget. So we both walk up to the budget counter at the same time. And then I don't think anything else of it, right? She's going her way, I'm going my way. And I asked for the car, and I think I had like a standard SUV, which is really like a car with, it's like the station wagon of today. Okay, it's just a station wagon. So I get that, and I'm asking them, do you have a bigger vehicle, like a Ford Explorer Expedition, something big? Because I know Anne and Liz, and they got stuff, right? Liz has production equipment, and we always end up driving people around when I'm with them. Okay, so I'm thinking I actually need a bigger car. And the guy says, we don't have a bigger car. There's like no more inventory. I'm going to give you this Dodge thing. And again, it was like a Ford Explorer. I mean, not Ford Escape. It's a car, okay? And so he says you can have this. I was like, okay. And so I walk over, and there's a Ford Expedition sitting right there, and I'm walking and looking for my car in the numbered space. I walk up, and this lady who had followed me is standing there beside this Ford Expedition. And I said, "Oh, that's a nice car. That's what I wanted." And she goes, "This car is too big for me. I don't want it. I can't even get my suitcase in it." And I said, "Do you want to trade?" And she goes, "Yes." And so we looked at my car. She said, "That's perfect for me." And so we walked up to the rental counter, and we said, "Hey, we want to trade cars." And so that's what we did. So she was really happy. She had to drive to a wedding in Arkansas, and she went off on her merry way. I went off with my big Ford Expedition with lots of cargo space. And I was super happy because I just like driving a big SUV. And I also knew that those girls would have stuff, right? And that we would end up driving people around. And that's exactly what happened. So what happened? We're at the event. Colonel Wendy Rogers is there, Senator Wendy Rogers, with her husband Hal, and they had another person with them. They had flown in on their private plane. They didn't have a car, and so we ended up driving them around. Driving them, yeah. So we used that third row seat. We used the cargo area, and I got to hang out and ride in the back seat with the senator and her husband. And there you go. So God just gave us the right car. How awesome is that? And how was the car, Beth? Was it good? She got the smaller car that she could actually, get her suitcase in. And so that's just an example of how God is looking out for us in even the small things. He doesn't sweat the details, and everybody was happy. And so we were able to. It all just worked. I mean, I just love the way that it worked. And she had a GMC Acadia. Okay, so good to know. Just too small for me. um, but it was awesome. And what else was I going to tell you? Oh, my flight was canceled not once, but twice. But I had all these divine interruptions, divine disruptions, divine appointments. I can't tell you everything that happened, but let's just suffice it to say that God has a bigger agenda than I do. Now, one of the things that happened is that I um, I couldn't get home from Tulsa. There were no flights anywhere on Sunday. I gave them like a choice of 4 airports, like even DC. I said, "Hey, can you get me there? I can just get a rental car and come home." Okay, nothing, nothing. I was grounded. And then I thought, I said, I decided to go to Kansas City because it's a bigger airport. They couldn't get me out of Oklahoma City. Long story short, I got a flight out of Kansas City, and then when I got to Kansas City, I had a rental car. When I got to Kansas City, they canceled my flight for Monday right when I walked into the hotel. I was like, really? And so I ended up coming back yesterday, and it's just so funny, right? But but I want to tell you something I found out. Kansas City Airport, all of Kansas City has like a Jezebel spirit over it. There is such an opposition, such just like a pull of controlling spirit over that airport, over that city. Like they have a mask mandate and they're serious about it. And the crazy, ridiculous, the people at the American counter, like they were just mean. Okay. And so I know God had me there for a reason. Okay. And so everything. So because of what's been going on, I'm on a mission more now than ever to tell everybody that I know that there's hope and that you can get treated if you get the China virus. And so that's what I've been doing. And so I had a flight. I had a flight out of Kansas City. I had to be at the airport at 4 a.m. 4. And so I checked my bag, returned my rental car, and the shuttle driver, I think we were like the first group that had to get shuttled. That guy was the happiest guy. He was like an angel, really nice black man. He was a Chiefs fan. I don't know about that, but anyway, he was so kind and so happy, and so and he put my little carry-on in. I could have done it myself, but I let him. And so when I got out of the shuttle, I wanted to give him a tip, and I handed him my card. I said, "Look, I don't know if you've noticed that people are getting COVID even after they got the shot." He said, "Oh yeah, my sister did that." He goes, "I'm not so sure about that shot." I said, "Have you gotten it?" He said, "No." And so anyway, we talked for a little bit, and his name is Ross. You can pray for him. He just brings so much joy to people. He's like the bright spot, the ray of sunshine in Kansas City. Ross, the shuttle bus driver, who's a Chiefs fan. Okay, but he was so delightful. But I told him about it. I just said, here, I gave him my card. I said, call me if anybody that you know gets symptoms. I told him, don't go to the hospital. I will tell you how to get resources. I'll tell you how to get medicine, et cetera, et cetera. Guys, I was doing that everywhere. I was talking to everybody. I was like, here's my card, like anybody that I made a connection with. And what I'm telling you, the reason I'm telling you this is because we are the ones who have to take charge here. You, me, everybody. If you're afraid of people and you don't like talking to people, too bad, because I'm an introvert too. I don't know if you know that, but when I go travel, I don't really want to talk to anybody. I just want to like go and, watch my YouTubers and read on my Kindle, listen to worship music, just be in the bubble. That's what I want to do. And I want to just get through as quickly as possible. I don't want multiple layovers. I just want to like get on the plane and go. All right. That's me. So, whereas like Millie just loves everybody. Like she's just like, oh, honey, like that's Millie. Millie is just talking to everybody and loving on them. Next thing you know, she's like feeding them. Okay. That's not me. I'm not a hugger. I don't want to hug you when I'm out in public. That's not me. So the fact that I'm just being honest. Okay. The fact that God has this urgency on me is a big deal. And what I'm telling you is that you can do this. And what I think I would like to see people doing, those of you who are sitting here thinking, what can I do? Here's a thought. I think that um, I think that you can go to flccc.net and you can click on their COVID protocol. It's called the Mask Plus. I don't know why they use mask, but anyway, they're taking back that word Mask Plus, and you can print that out. You can get it on a like a 5x7 card. Don't make it microscopic because people need to be able to read it. Print it double sided, whatever you need to do. But before you print it out, I want you to do some Photoshop because I want you to say, there is, got COVID, there is treatment. Okay. And make sure that it has the flccc.net website on it. You get what I'm saying. That's a resource that you can put in people's hands. And here's what you're going to do. You're not just going to go give them to your friends, okay? Although you could go around your neighborhood and put them in people's newspaper boxes. You can't put them in the mailbox. You can put them in their door like they do for campaigning. You can actually do this like during campaign season. Stick it in their door because everybody's finding leaflets, all right? And so you can do that. You can make a QR code. Just go to the internet and type in make QR code, and you can actually put a QR code on your flyer, and they can just pick up and under the QR code you just write scan to learn more, and they scan with camera to learn more, right? And they hold your camera over the QR code, and it opens up the website. The other thing is if you go to timetofreeamerica.com and click on the tab that says how not to die from COVID. That tab gives you a lot of resources too. And so what I'm saying is this is a big deal, and we could save people's lives. Go to all of you shop, right? Everybody goes to the store. Go to the store. Leave these in grocery carts. Just leave it there. Go in the bathroom. Put them in the stalls. Like tuck them in to the toilet paper roll thingy. All right. Anywhere you can. You don't have to put your name on it. If you want to put your number on it, if you want to get a Google phone number, call for more information, whatever, you can do that. But what I'm saying is, this is important. You could save someone's life because people are not getting this information. And every person that I talked to, and there were a lot, every person I talked to said, I knew that something was wrong. I just don't know how to find out. I don't know how to get the information. And so I am calling on all of you to take up this charge. Think about what would happen if everybody prints out 500 leaflets, 100 leaflets, whatever, and you just go start handing them out. All right. Don't put them on people's cars. That's annoying. All right. Yeah, hospitals. Exactly. Go to a hospital. Just walk through the hospital. Go into all the bathrooms and put these flyers in the stalls. All right. Think about this. The people who are cleaning the bathroom, a lot of times they're the most at risk because they're really being manipulated. Usually minorities, people who are being victimized and manipulated about this. I'm not saying they're the only ones, but you could save a life. All right. FLCCC, 3Cs.net. FLCCC.net. They have a PDF. You can print it out. All right. Go to your local printer and make a deal and say, I need 500 of these. If you can do them in color, great. If you can do them in 2-color, whatever, that's great. Black and white, if that's the cheapest, do it. Just do it. Just get the information out there. All right. And then also, send it in an email. Send the PDF in an email. What I would do, because a lot of people won't open the PDF, I would take screenshots of the PDF and send it as pictures. Text it to people. Say, there's hope. There's treatment for COVID. We already know, like, people might unfriend you, whatever. I mean, this is life or death. We're beyond the point of worrying about people's feelings. They may be believing a lie. It's not your responsibility to change what they believe. Get them the information. Okay? So, what do you guys think of that? That's just what I've been thinking about, how we can take practical steps to help people and get them the information. I mean, I gave out my card with my phone number, with my personal phone number to strangers in the airport yesterday. I don't even give you guys my phone number, but that's where we are, because this is life or death. We're on a mission. We have to save lives. And we know that you know, the cabal, they want you dead. They literally want you dead. They want to take everything from you. And so we're not going to let them do that, right? Who's going to do it? Who's with me? I want you to report back. I want to hear from you what you're doing. So this is okay. I know that a lot of you are weary from hearing panic porn and hearing all the horrible, evil things that these people want to do. We are able to we are able to take action. And the flyer that you leave sitting in a grocery cart could change um, could change somebody's life, could save their life. Vicky has a good idea on um, on YouTube. She says, consider also putting out the gospel in a similar manner. I mean, why not print it double sided and give them the gospel and give them a prayer of salvation? You could do that, right? There is hope in these troubling times. Okay, so this is big. I feel like we are able to mobilize and get boots on the ground and give people hope. I mean, it was wonderful being able to talk to people yesterday, talking to the bus driver and just saying to him, he's like, I don't think I want to get the shot, but he didn't know everything that was he didn't even know why. He just knows in his spirit he doesn't want to get it, especially after his cousin, I think it's his sister or cousin, got sick after being double shotted. I mean, he's like, something's wrong here. So you could be providing the missing piece to that puzzle of what's wrong. I suggest ladies go to Home Goods, go to Marshalls, go to TJ Maxx. Women typically make most of the decisions in the family, especially when it comes to healthcare, when it comes to buying and things like that. Go to places where women shop, Target, um, and see and put just leave it in the cart. All right. Now some of them are going to get thrown away, but somebody has to pick it up to throw it away. All right. Um, so JC is saying on YouTube that there's different stages, different phases from for treating it. So JC, from what I understand, the FLCCC protocol goes into all of that. The other thing you can do is you can also make a link with a QR code. Find a doctor who will treat you. Find a doctor in your state, and find a doctor in your state, and you can make a QR code for that. That list is also on the flccc.net. So literally, you can just say, find a doctor, find a doctor in your state to treat you with this protocol, and then scan here. Okay, that's my call to action right now. All right. Anybody else have anything to add? It's been a long show today, but I wanted to get this out here. I am energized. I want people to live. I want people to get the truth about what is happening here and what's possible. Okay. So for those of you who came to the show late, I want to encourage you to go back and listen to the beginning of the show, because I talked about the miracle of Matt and Shannon in Arizona, about how how Matt is living. 2 weeks ago they said they weren't even doing anything. They were just going to let him die. So go back and listen to the beginning of the show. You're going to be very encouraged. especially if you've been thinking, nothing is happening. If you're feeling despair, if you're feeling hopeless, please go back and listen to that. And please share it because people need to have hope right now. We're coming into the winter. These people want you to think that it's going to be this dark death winter. We have to reclaim and bring the presence of life into every place that we go. Don't tolerate that declaration of death over our country, over your loved ones. That is that is not that's not God's will. And so you, as a believer, a Christian, you have authority over that. Do not tolerate it. Do not tolerate it. Don't sit around talking about what these people are saying. Don't talk about their agenda. Talk about God's agenda. I came that you might have life and have it in the fullest, have it abundantly. So this is awesome. Okay, Vicky, if anyone has influence with Mike Lindell, I've emailed a few times asking if they put random Bible verses in bags to sell the people. I thought they did put Bible verses in the things. I think they do, Vicky. Does anybody know if he does that? I can contact his marketing director. I'll ask her if she does that. Somebody also suggested that they make a pillow for side sleepers and pregnant women. So I'll do that, but I got to get my promo code first. Okay. Let me write that down. Okay. So Deb is saying sometimes a hard copy is the only way. The net is shutting us down. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. We're at the point where we can't, if you post it over on Facebook, the socialist media overlords are going to delete it. I mean, everything you post now, they put a disclaimer and tell you that, this information may not be accurate. Whatever. Forget it. Just give them a flyer. I mean, do it like the old days. Instead of a Christmas card, send out the COVID protocol. I mean, you can do that. People send out, they're going to open it. If they get something that's handwritten in the mail, they're going to open it. All right. And you can just say, hey, here's some information for you. Do with it what you will. That's it. Think about that. So just something to think about. Okay. Anybody else have any ideas? Okay, people are saying they didn't get Bible verses. Mary says, I did get Bible verses in my pillow. I think I did get a Bible verse in my pillow. Okay, well, we'll come back to that. Mike Lindell is also ramping up frank speech. So I think that I think us content providers are going to actually be on frank speech. So you're not going to have to deal with all of this socialist media nonsense. You can speak freely. Okay. Okay. Anything else? I think I'm going to wind up here. Email lists are powerful. Yeah. If people have permission to get an email from you, but listen, let me just tell you something. If you do that, again, if you send a PDF, people may or may not open it. I would actually send screenshots and the PDF so they can choose. And then the other thing is when you group email, please make sure you use the BCC feature for the BCC feature so that the other 800 people in your email list don't have to deal with the entire list coming into their inbox and then all of the reply all, the people that don't understand you're not supposed to reply all. Do you understand what I'm saying? Either use a mail server, like a thing like ActiveCampaign or not MailChimp. What's the other one? One of those. Or if you're just sending it to people in your contact list, blind copy. Don't paste everybody's email addresses into the to field. That's horrible. Don't do that to people. Okay. And if you're one of those people that gets an email that has multiple people's names in it, don't reply all. Just don't. Okay. That's one of my little pet peeves. All right. They need pillows without the My Pillow fabric for people unequally yoked with the left who want My Pillow, but other person won't use it. I don't think they're going to do that, Delia, because that's his brand. People have actually tried to steal his fabric. If you did you read his book? They actually tried to steal his fabric and copy his pillows. That's how you know it's a genuine My Pillow. So yeah, you might have to just slap a pillow cover on that thing and put a pillowcase on it and put it on the bed. And then they're like, "Oh, this is so comfortable. I don't even know. Wow, that's awesome." And then they realize later, like, um, "Oh, it's a My Pillow." And then they'll just have to decide. Okay, okay. I think that's it. I'll be back tomorrow. The timing, I'm actually leaning away from what I used to do, which was like the 5:30 time. It was just too stressful. What was it, 4:30 or 5:30? I don't even remember now. Um, I'm looking into revamping a lot of things, even doing recorded shows that I can upload. Not that they're all going to be recorded, but some. Okay. Uh, okay. Um, David on YouTube says, "Thank you so much, Mary. I have received a word of direction from the Lord. God bless." That's awesome. Yeah. People, please make sure you tell me what you're doing. Tell us, just tell us so we can tell everybody else. Okay. I'm making flyers, I'm handing them out. And if you put a phone number or an email address, then people can actually contact you and you can give us testimonies of how it's helped people. That's up to you. All right. Make a different email address if you don't want spam in your regular email address. All right. Yes, when God hears Mike Lindell's name, he smiles. That's for sure. What is Millie saying? 4:30 Central. Yeah, I used to do 5:30. That's all changing. All right. Tomorrow, look for my show. I hope everybody has a wonderful day, and I'm encouraged. Keep praying for our people keep praying for our folks in Tennessee, for Marlon and his brother Patrick, and keep speaking life over Matt and Phoenix and Shannon. And also, make sure that you're preparing for your family for what might come if there's shortages, things like that. There's been incredible inflation. Food is getting more expensive. Write to me about superfoods. You can keep that on your shelf. info@marygracemedia.com. I almost forgot to tell you that. Save over $100 off of your month's supply of superfoods. info@marygracemedia.com. Okay. Thank you, moderators, for all of your help. And thank you guys for being here. Thank God for all that he's doing and for his goodness. I will see you tomorrow.